you are a small business owner or you own rental properties and you need help with bookkeeping, can you actually do it on a spreadsheet?
Spreadsheets are nice because everyone has access to them. It's cheap. It doesn't cost you anything. It is very important that the business owner understands the bookkeeping. So when you either spend money or bring in money, there's 5 things that you need to know.
Why would a business owner, a rental property owner, ever then take out a year of bank statements and do it in a spreadsheet?
Separate each one out, sum them up, and then at least you can see what you're spending, but really some sort of accounting software, especially when you start having a lot of transactions, will really make a lot more sense. The easiest one, the one that we use quite a bit is...
Today, I'm sitting down with my CPA, Derek Fujikawa, and we're breaking down, can you actually export your bank statements, your credit card statements, your cost of goods, etc. on a spreadsheet, and will that suffice? So welcome to Office Hours, a tax podcast by Fujikawa and Associates, and we're your hosts. I'm Josh Baldovino, one of Derek's clients, and this is Derek Fujikawa, and he's the managing partner of Fujikawa and Associates. Derek, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good. All right, Derek. So today we are breaking down bookkeeping, which you tell me on a scale from 1 to 10, how often or what is the priority that small businesses put on bookkeeping?
Very low. I think their priority is high, but it ends up getting pushed back very low on the totem pole, and oftentimes I'm either asking for the information or just waiting until it can all get put together so that we can work on either the tax return or a financial statement analysis.
Yeah, bookkeeping is one of those very essential tasks that is easy to go, I'll get to it next week, I'll look at it, I'll reconcile it, I'll just export it. And oftentimes you just need some dedicated team member and or consultant just to do it. I'm sure that's your recommendation.
Yes, the best thing to do is outsource it to an employee, another person, an employee, even a VA or someone like that if they're well versed in bookkeeping. But yeah, if it's up to you, the business owner, you're probably never going to do it or do it at the last minute when you absolutely have to, because it's not something that is going to produce income, right? You're trying to produce income, whereas bookkeeping is just keeping track of everything, and you're going to be spending a bunch of time doing something that's not productive and earning you income. I see why it can be a problem, but the best thing to do is to offload that on to somebody else to take care of.
So that's the recommendation. Today's, I guess, the kind of opposite, because there's going to be some people who just want to see, can I do it myself? Can I do it for myself on the cheap? This is going to be part 1 of a series of what does bookkeeping entail? And we're going to start off in the most simplistic way, which is exporting your transactions and or bank statements. This is a AI ChatGPT generated sample expenses and revenue. Derek, I'm going to go ahead and share your screen here, but
sure. What
are we looking at first off?
So this one here is just something that kind of ChatGPT put together. I moved it into a Google Sheet, but just to give you an idea, if you were to pull up ChatGPT, this is what they'll give you. And it's a good start, but doesn't have everything that you might need. And so we can go back to here to this spreadsheet that I created. And also just going back to what we said about offloading the bookkeeping to somebody else. It is very important that the business owner understands the bookkeeping. And so I would say definitely, especially at the very beginning, you should be very much involved in the bookkeeping, even though it doesn't create billable time or help you earn income. It's definitely a very important piece of the business. And even if you push it off to someone else, you should understand what's going on. And so at least have started off and figured out and at least know where the numbers are going, instead of just getting something from your bookkeeper and not really understanding what the numbers mean.
So bare minimum, you do the bookkeeping that we can at least generate your monthly P&Ls. And at least from a high level, just look at that once a month. So
yes, yeah.
All right, so on spreadsheet, how are we MacGyvering this?
Yeah, so there's about 5 kind of main factors. So when you either spend money or bring in money, there's 5 things that you need to know. So like the first thing would be the date that it came in. That's going to determine, help you spread it out by month, year, etc. And then a description, which would be like who either you paid or paid you. And then you want the amount. So that'd be the dollar amount. Actually, the first one, description, would actually be payee. Or I guess you could put description. And then maybe a notes or secondary description line. Maybe you bought something from a company, has some strange name, you don't know what it is. You want a description of it. Maybe it was an office expense or it was a purchase of supplies or something like that. And then you want to have a type or category. And that would be like income, expense, cost of sales. Those are kind of your main descriptions or the main pieces of information for each kind of transaction that you have. And so I've kind of we jump over to here. I've just pre-filled in something. These are just some random numbers and different things, but so the same thing. So I use name here. So the name, say on January 5th, you bought something from Widgets Inc. for $40,501.50. Purchase of raw materials, so that'll be a cost of sales. This could be something that you can import from your bank account, your bank statements, things like that. You just have to map out where everything goes. You may have to add some information in if, say, the description side there may not be on the bank account, but you should be able to draw most of the stuff here. And then you can create rules to show if you see something over and over again, you know it's utilities, PG&E's utilities, and it's expense. This is a sample spreadsheet, so you can just track everything that's coming in, going out from your bank account, which on the surface isn't very helpful, right? It's just a bunch of numbers and a bunch of descriptions. So this isn't really going to help you run your business or see what's going on. Spreadsheets are nice because everyone has access to them. It's cheap. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you're proficient at them, you can be pretty fast at getting information in. But then you have to do a little bit of work on your end. So now you're going to have to sort everything and figure out what's income. So that's why this type, everything, all this information will help you do that. We can go and take this information, and if we go to data and sort, go to advanced sorting options. So now the first thing we'd want to do is maybe sort by type. So we want to separate out the income, the cost of sales, the expenses. So in this instance, it's column E. And then next we'd want to sort by description. So then we have expenses, but we have all these different expenses. Like on the tax return, you're not going to just have one line expenses, or on your financial statements, you want to see what those expenses are going to. So then you use this column D here. And then if you want, you can sort it by date as well, just to show everything in chronological order. So now if we go to sort, now we have everything separated out here. We have our cost of sales, we have our expenses, and then we have our income. So that helps us, narrows it down to one point, right? And then now we're going to have to summarize each one. So again, this is a lot of work. If you provide this to me as your accountant, just the raw spreadsheet, then I'm going to do all this work and charging you by the hour to do all this sorting and filtering. But you can do it yourself as well. You do that, you can add up each set and create your totals there, right? You have your total for cost of sales, total, you can separate each expense item, separate each one out, sum them up. Now at least you can see what you're spending on internet, what you're spending on utilities, with how much money you brought in and income down here at the bottom. And then that's your first level of at least being able to see each category. This is still not a financial statement, but at least now you know what you're spending on all these different items here. In order to create a financial statement, now you're going to have to pull this all in and summarize it into one report, which is a lot more work as well. At the bare minimum, I'd say keep a spreadsheet. Say you have a rental property and you have multiple properties, then you're going to probably want to create a different sheet for each property. You don't want to just put everything into one and then have to figure out what goes to this property, what goes to that property. So it can get a little complicated, it can get a little spread out, but it is one way to keep track of everything. I would say at the bare minimum for my clients, at least put everything into a spreadsheet. I can do this and get all the information that I need from it. It may take a little bit longer, but at least it's all there and I know where it's coming from versus a box full of receipts or anything like that.
Yes, because at least you have some type of category and summary to be able to do somewhat of a rough estimate of a P&L, and hopefully it all nets out. Already, it looks like this is obviously not the way to bookkeep. This is just a way for you to get a very manual snapshot of what your finances are doing.
Yes.
I'm going to assume that this is not going to help you much in an audit.
It will help you. It will help you more than
not having something.
Yeah, I guess so. At least you have everything there, right? So you can go back and check and show, here's my information. Here's where I'm getting these numbers from. And then if you have the backup to these, if you have, say, copies of receipts or things like that you can link these to, then you should be okay. It takes a little bit longer and a little bit of time, but at least you have some sort of trail to get to where you got those numbers on, say, your tax return.
Okay. So this is a rough calculation in your business. Someone sent you raw data like this, like you mentioned. It could be a possibility, but I think you have some other solutions that you'd also rather implement instead, yeah?
Yes. The easiest one, the one that we use quite a bit, is Quickbooks. What I like about that is they can have access online and go in and take a look at things. But there are other online accounting tools that you can use. I may not be quite as familiar with, but if it's something that you've used or other people that have used, then definitely I don't discourage that, but I would like to see the reports and just make sure that it's putting out some meaningful information.
So not to just totally dismiss this, but why would a business owner or rental property owner ever then take out a year of bank statements and do it in a spreadsheet? Is there any use at all aside from, I don't know?
Putting it into the spreadsheet allows you to do all of this sorting and everything, right? So if it's just in the bank statement and a PDF or something, you don't have the ability to sort and combine and totally total up the different expenses. So it does have some use, and at the bare minimum, that would at least save a ton of time in terms of adding everything up and trying to separate everything out from each bank statement, especially with a lot of transactions.
Yeah, and just being able to just quickly sum, obviously, cost of goods and other expenses and what you did from the baseline. Okay,
Yes.
so there's clearly a better way to do this. And if you are watching this video and you're like, okay, I'm not going to the spreadsheet route, Derek, you convinced us. I encourage you to click on this video that's up here or in the description below. That's going to be a part 2 of how you can then take all of this raw data and put it into QuickBooks, so that way you don't have to manually sort it every single time. Click on that video, and then actually before you do, hit the subscribe button if you want more tax and business tips from us, and then share this with someone who you know is struggling with their bookkeeping, because that would be a lot. But Derek, I appreciate you showing us how you would take raw data. Any last words of wisdom before we jump into QuickBooks?
Yeah, I mean, well, as we mentioned, keeping track of everything, anything is better than nothing. If you have a spreadsheet, or if you feel like you're proficient with spreadsheets, this is fine. But really, some sort of accounting software, especially when you start having a lot of transactions, will really make a lot more sense.
Okay, that sounds good. If you have any questions, you can either leave them in the comments down below, or you can click the link in the description to book a consultation with Derek. But if not, we'll also see you in that QuickBooks episode. Thanks, guys.